back. Stormy's messing with us.
I wish these guys could see what goes on before we actually come online. But yeah,
it's not pretty.
We're back.
It's not pretty.
It's not pretty, man. It's not pretty. Stormy's bossy, isn't she?
Very bossy.
Yeah,
if you've not met her yet, she's pretty bossy down here.
Yeah, the master controller.
I'm telling you. Hey, if you haven't hit up the chat yet, like, what do you do for Memorial Day?
What do you guys do for Memorial Day?
I put mine in. I literally go to Walmart every Memorial Day.
Yeah.
Because they have they have the veterans folks out front collecting money, and they hand out. There's some significance to the red poppy for the folks that have died in wars, and so I always I drop a pretty good chunk of change there just to.
What is the significance of the red poppy?
I don't know it. I just know that they give it to you.
So you've been donating, you've been getting it,
yeah.
But you've never asked.
Yeah, and it's typically, I think they're members of the VFW that stand outside the Walmarts. And
I wonder what it is.
I don't know. Maybe somebody knows it. Maybe they
Stormy,
can put that in the chat.
Put that in the chat, Stormy. Maybe
Somebody's going golfing.
Barbecues.
Ivan Velasquez is going to Disneyland. We're going to Disneyland. Yeah. Awesome. That's awesome.
J. Ernesto Aguilar says carne asada. Of course he would. Why else would he say anything else?
Oh, there it is. The red poppy is a symbol of death, consolation, and remembrance. Awesome. Thank you for that. P. Jones, that's outstanding.
For those who pass away, poppy is also known as flower of Flanders, are most commonly used to commemorate the death of fallen soldiers.
Brian Bergeron's cleaning his garage?
Yeah, way to go, man, Brian.
That's not fun.
Mariners game in Seattle with the family. All right.
Nice.
I haven't been to a baseball game in so long. Lake time, Tyler Residori.
Awesome. I'll be doing lake time. I go to, as you know, I go up to Lake Erie pretty regular, and I'll be leaving after our broadcast tomorrow to head up there for a little extended weekend. But
by the way, is it me, or does Tyler Residori remind you of that guy from Parks and Recreation? Is it just me?
Did we say that before? We did say that before.
He does. I keep looking at him. I want to go watch the series for some reason.
Amen.
Good seeing you, Tyler.
So
good seeing you.
there's Jesse Bubba Valentine. I took a shot at him this morning. We're gonna have to circle back and hit him today. He's the guy that was begging for the gift card before the contest was even over. But we'll talk about that when we announce the winners.
Michelle Dees, what's happening, Michelle?
Amen. So this is really cool. Mark Stevens is on, and I saw on Mark Stevens' GroupMe, Victor, he celebrated his 40th Orkin anniversary this week.
Really?
How about that?
40 years.
Mark Stevens.
What did you guys send him?
I don't know. They sent him something, Mark. Did you get your package yet? Yeah, he's got his thumbs up.
Did he?
Outstanding.
Mark, what'd you get? Can you type that in? I want to know what you got. In fact,
he's sitting in his car.
Hey, Mark, just give me a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't like it. Halfway if you're neutral, man.
They give him like they get a pin with a whole bunch of diamonds in it, and they give them a catalog that they can choose a prize out of. Sonia got her 25th last week at one of the meetings, so it's pretty cool.
There's some good prizes in there?
Really cool stuff.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Really cool stuff.
All right.
Maybe someday I'll get
Kevin Tinsley is volunteering at a butterfly sanctuary.
Wow. Nice.
I've been to one of those. That's actually pretty cool.
Nice.
Man, Jesse's going to Ireland, man. Did I tell you that's on my bucket list?
Is it really?
Yeah, man.
That's
because
super cool.
I'm like, what? Jesse, you're not going to believe this, but I did my 23andMe, the DNA test, 1.2% Irish. Yeah. That's right. I know. Hard to believe. I get it, but it's there. it's deep in the DNA, but it's there, man.
Who else? I see Brian Locke. Who else do I see? I see Adam Humphrey. I saw Ivan Velasquez. He quoted in there. I see
David
Tim
Henry's
Tarantella.
looking a little serious there, man. Got to crack the smile, man. It's okay. Life is good, David.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, Jason Sagar. Was it just
Michigan.
Seeger,
I see Derek Kennedy looking all serious. Look at Derek looking all serious. Who else?
There's good-looking people out there.
He's smiling now. A lot
Adam
of camera
Humphrey's
shot
got
folks.
the cool haircut going. He's got the nice little living room back
There's my
there.
man, George.
Dude, look at that chair he has. That's a nice wing-back chair, man.
Stormy's playing music now. We asked her to play it in the beginning.
Yeah.
Maybe tomorrow, Stormy.
Yeah, thanks, Stormy. It doesn't work now. All right, man. Should we jump into this
let's
thing?
jump into it. So I guess we should kind of, you've been pretty busy, but I have a story. He's done nothing for the last month. He took the whole month off.
Took the whole month of May off. This is the only thing I'm doing this month. Just for you.
We are very kind.
Yeah.
I'm kind of sad.
Yeah, why's that?
The Voice ended. I got he gave me a hard time, yesterday. The Voice ended last night, and it ended Blake Shelton's 26th, consecutive seasons.
I'm going to say it again, Ed. Nobody cares about The Voice. By the way, how many folks actually watch The Voice?
Put it in the chat.
Just put Voice in the chat. If you watch The Voice, just put it. Because I'm telling you, you and probably one other Orkinite probably watches The Voice.
My wife and I watch The Voice.
Okay,
and as many of these folks know, I don't watch TV. I watch The Voice in live sporting events.
Carmen, really? Ivan Velasquez says Voice.
There
Carmen
you go.
Diaz
there
says,
you go.
but don't tell me the winner. Wow, Nathan. I mean,
Oh, he
yeah,
must have taped it.
Gabrielle.
So we won't tell him the winner.
Adam says you couldn't pay me to watch The Voice.
Oh,
my
Adam,
man, my
Adam.
man. It's like, who watches The Voice?
Nathan,
But anyway, go
sad
ahead.
to see Blake leave. Sad to see. Like all of his friends came back. Like everybody was on the show with him for years,
This
and a
is,
whole
the
bunch.
this is the country
Yeah,
singer,
the country
Blake.
guy.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not a country fan, but
Okay.
he's really good on the show. I mean, he's leaving. Like he's been the standard guy. But you know what?
I mean,
didn't happen?
is it a big deal that he's leaving?
Yeah, it's like
Okay.
monstrous. It's like
Okay.
heartbreaking.
Oh, okay. So it's
Gets me right here.
here.
You know what happened though? It was kind of weird. Like my wife is like, you know, she's up at the lake and we're
Right.
watching we had like a virtual party together watching The Voice because it was the finale. But she said at the end of it, she said, you know what? Gwen wasn't there.
And Gwen is
His wife, Gwen Stefani.
okay. Oh, that one.
From No Doubt. They got married, like, and they were
Right.
on The Voice together, and like everybody came back, Adam came back, but
Okay.
no Gwen. So my wife thinks there's something going on.
Yeah. Okay.
And maybe they're Splitsville. So that's how minds work. Too many reports to do. I
Yeah,
haven't
George
seen.
says too many reports to do to watch.
Oh, there you go. All right, so I got some fans.
Jesse
here.
says my wife makes me watch American Idol.
So my story, that's my time with my wife. That's our date night.
Okay,
You know?
I mean,
and we're going to celebrate our 40th anniversary this weekend, so I'm keeping my wife happy.
40
Victor.
years. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
smart. man.
Mark's been working here 40 years. I've been
40 years.
I've been working hard at trying to
Congratulations.
let this lady keep me around for
That's
40
right.
years.
I gotcha,
So
man.
far, so good.
That's beautiful,
Let's jump into last month's results and
All
talk
right.
about April results because they were spectacular once again. Just breaking down, most of the folks on the call, Victor, as you know, today are residential focused. We'll have the commercial folks on the call tomorrow. But residentially, we had another really strong month in termite sales, and I'll just break down those buckets for you a little bit. Our traditional termite, like our Perimeter Plus and our Drill It and Fill It and full liquid treatments, we were only up 3% year over year versus last year, April. Where we really gained a lot of headway and a lot of ground was with termite bait last month. Termite bait sales month over month for April were up 22% nationwide, 22%. So just outstanding. The real standard bearer, the leader of the pack, continues to be the termite ancillary. Our termite ancillary sales in April of 23 were 28% over and above what we did in 22.
Wow.
And we've talked
Big.
about that ancillary piece for months now as we continue to do these
big.
broadcasts. Just killing it. So rolling it all together, 17% increase in termite sales. We've been running that 15 to 20% for 5 years. So that's what so impresses me, the way that you folks are continuing to deliver on that number, because you're not going up against bad numbers. I've been around almost as long as Mark Stevens, and typically when folks have big increases, it's because they didn't do so good last year.
Right.
But that's not the case with their termite sales. Y'all are
Right.
just killing it. So thank you. I mean,
Way to
just
go.
outstanding.
Nice.
Residential sales, a little bit of a different story for our call center folks. That the demand or the inbound calls, we're really dependent on inbound calls on our residential pest control sales. The demand has been really flat. Even decreased. April particularly, we got less leads. Less people called us. Less people contacted us through the internet, and that resulted in our residential sales remaining just kind of flat to last year. So we kind of just did the same thing we did last year, which in my mind is kind of a win because we had less interest, we had less folks calling us. So the folks at the call center have done a terrific job, and the folks in the field have done a terrific job in creating more business. And where it's really coming from is from our mosquito sales. Our mosquito sales, again, sold at the call center alone, which amounts to about 80% of our mosquito sales to date, as because they're getting ahead of the season a little bit. Our mosquito sales by the call center were up 25% in April over
Did you say
last
it was
year.
80% of the sales?
It's about 80% of the mosquito sales right now to date
Right.
are being sold by the call center because the folks are calling in and they're bundling.
Gotcha.
They're doing what these folks do
Interesting.
residentially.
Wow.
As the mosquitoes start flying, as we move into the seasons, our technicians will sell a lot more of that. So that split will
Gotcha.
it'll get hopefully the call center.
What's the goal for the split, like call center versus in the field, if you were to
It's on residential pest control. It's about 70% of the sales are made by the call center.
Okay.
With 30% really being handled by the technicians in the field and these folks on the call.
Okay.
So oftentimes we think that we can't control residential sales, but the reality is that we can if we focus on it in the field with our techs and certainly these folks bundling. All these folks on this call that are really leading with termite sales. By gosh, you should certainly be tacking a mosquito service
Absolutely.
onto that bundle to get after
Nice.
it.
Nice.
And that's represented by 35% increase
Wow.
in the mosquito sales sold in the
big.
field.
That's big. That's
I mean, just really good numbers. So again, thanks for that. Just outstanding. If you're not bundling mosquito, start bundling mosquito. Start bundling mosquito. And again, the best, the termite, the commercial sales, we'll cover that, but just to give you a quick highlight, we were about 12% over in commercial sales last year,
Nice.
or this year over last year's April. So just outstanding. Numbers are pretty much identical year to date. Just a phenomenal first 4 months. We're having a fairly solid termite sales month this month. We always kind of catch up at the end, as we
Right.
get stuff posted. So we're all in good
As
shape.
you move into like June, July, what are the typical patterns there? Is it up, down,
Yeah,
flat? What do you think?
So this game for the rest for guys like Mark and myself that have been
Yeah.
around forever, you used to get real big spikes. You'd get real big
That's what I thought,
spikes
yeah.
when the termites swarmed,
Right.
and then you have these monster lifts,
Right.
and then these pretty substantial valleys.
Right.
With all the bundling, all the ancillary services, that's just flat across the board. I mean, our budgets in October will be darn near on the termite side of the business what they are in April. I mean, it's that crazy. I mean, the game has changed that much that there's really, you can sell 100,000 in December just as soon as you can sell 100,000.
So even in post-pandemic, it's not going to some predictable pattern again, like
No,
it used to. So it's
no,
just not going back.
it just keeps
Interesting.
bumping up. So
That's
fingers
fascinating,
crossed,
yeah.
toes crossed, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And the really good news is that when you sell a bunch of business, are you making any money on it? Because at the end of the day, that's what drives. That's the reason we open the doors. And the April over April, let's just cut it this way. We had the best April the company's ever had. So we've had the first 4 months of this year have been the best months that the company Orkin has ever had, converting profit and making profit. Just
Historically.
staggering. Historically, like
Hot
you
dang.
would expect that as we grow that we'd make more money.
Yeah.
But I mean, these are historical growth levels, historical margins
Right.
on the business. Pretty healthy right now.
That's
pretty
sweet.
healthy. Yeah, it's
to
a fun place to be.
Yes.
It's a fun place to
Yes.
be. In addition to all those great company-wide performances, Victor, we had 38 of our residential salespeople get paid on that perfect mile, $100,000. So many, in fact, that Aubrey, who puts these slides together for us and these little videos, if we put up 38 individual slides, we'd be here like till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So you're going to see a whole bunch of them grouped. We're going to have Stormy show us the top 38.
Very cool.
What do you think about them apples?
Some nice apples, man. That's some nice apples. Hassan doing it again, huh?
Once again,
he's
he's
boring
back-
me. He's
back to
boring.
back.
He's boring me.
Back to back, 212,000.
Back to back. And I noticed Ray is also up there.
Amen.
My man Ray, back in the game. I love it, man. Congratulations.
Amen. Amen. You got Brian Wirth. I think he's on the call up there,
Yep.
kind of pounding it out. Just a perennial participant in that list.
Got some good people. By the way, a lot of Tennessee, Alabama regions in here.
Yeah. So
well done.
As you
Well
rank
done.
the regions, 7 from Tennessee, Alabama made the list.
Yeah.
6 from North Texas. We had 5 from Maryland. So really some dominant performances by those regions.
What is going on with Georgia?
Oh my gosh.
Dylan Alexander is the only dog in this pack.
Dog.
Dog. D-A-W-G.
We're gonna get.
I
you're
mean,
gonna-
what's
you're gonna
up?
Get me in trouble again.
Who's his boss? Who's his boss?
Victor.
Yeah.
We're rewarding performance.
Oh.
We're not calling anybody out.
All right,
This is how this is supposed
you,
to go.
Georgia.
We're celebrating wins.
Up your
We're
game, man,
celebrating
Georgia. Come on,
wins.
let's do this thing, man.
So Bubba's on the call. Bubba Valentine. So when this, I think the winners know that when they
Bubba?
yeah, Bubba Jesse. He's on the
Okay.
call.
Oh,
So when the winners know that when they make this list, I send them a $100 gift card, and if you're number one, you get a $500 gift card.
Yeah.
So like April hardly even closes. Like I
Right.
mean, it's like 3 days into May, and I got Bubba his gift card because he made it last month.
Right,
you know,
right.
for March performance. Like we're 3 days into the month. He goes like, "Where's my gift card
Oh, wow.
for April?" And I'm like, I sent him a note. I said, "Patience, young grasshopper.
Yeah, yeah.
Look, can we do the broadcast first and acknowledge it before
Yeah,
we send
before we
the gift
send
card?"
you anything,
So,
yeah.
Bob, I told you I was going to take a shot at you. There you go. That's very deserving.
So
be-
everybody gets
be
a $100
patient.
gift card, and then Hassan.
Hassan gets 500. And I'm not
500.
giving any more money away because there's too many winners.
Okay,
We're
all
not
right.
playing that game where if they're over X. Because quite frankly, I have to go back in these broadcasts and figure out what you made me promise.
Yeah.
So it's pretty simple moving
All right,
forward.
just-
100 to get the list, 500 for the.
I mean, you
for the
just can't
leader.
buy a lot with $100
Stop,
these
stop,
days. So I mean-
stop. We're not even going there. No, but just the cool thing about this
Great
is,
numbers.
is I went back, we've done these. I think this is the 14th broadcast
Yeah.
we've done residentially.
Yeah.
So I took the time and went back through the list. There are 8 first-time winners on this list, which is just outstanding.
Nice. That's
Outstanding.
cool. That's cool.
Again, 38.
We should have on that list, though, like the youngest, like who's been here the youngest. I think we should do that in the future.
The youngest or the youngest tenure, right? The youngest.
Yeah, in terms of tenure.
Yeah.
Like, what's the, and that'd be kind of like, it'd just be interesting to see,
Yeah.
the new people coming in.
It's crazy. Mark Jones, they're number 2. He's been
Mark
number 1 a
Jones.
couple of times. Tyler, Mark Jones, he's got a couple. He's got 2 first names.
Yeah.
He's still qualified as a rookie. I mean, this dude hasn't been here
Really?
but almost a year now.
Tyler
And-
Mark
and he
Jones. Is
made
that his full
President's Club
name?
last year. Yeah.
Tyler Mark Jones. Pretty
Yeah.
cool
Just
name,
killing. He's in South Carolina.
Yeah.
He's in Myrtle Beach, I think.
Good
killing
for
it.
him,
Just-
man. Way to go.
Yeah, but just
Nicely
outstanding.
done.
Just outstanding. So
Yep, got some
shout
good
out
names
to all
here.
those.
Yep,
Anybody
yep.
else you see on there?
Not that I can see. Everybody's good name here. We got Jose Sarazua, Benjamin Dillon. Let's see who else. I'm just scanning. Great names, though. I mean, nice list.
Yeah.
Well
again,
done. Congratulations.
8 new ones, and again the same story all over the country, right? So
Yeah.
it's never
never the
where you're from.
territory.
Amen.
Yeah.
It's the individual getting after it and getting busy. So
Gotcha.
congrats.
Let's do this.
So we traded a whole bunch of texts while you were on
Vacation.
hiatus. I'm going to call it like
Yeah.
hiatus about the new Air movie, right?
Yep.
So we're going to talk about that. We're going to share a clip with you here in a second, but just kind of tee up let me tell you a story about it. So if you've seen the Air movie, put it in the chat that you've seen the Air movie, the launch of Nike, all that kind
Just
of fun
type
stuff.
in the word air.
Yeah, just put Air in there, and we'll know if you've seen the movie. Really good movie. I haven't seen it. There you go. Brian Bergeron's seen it, absolutely. So the story, there's always a Youngstown, Ohio tie to everything.
Right.
Always.
Oh, really? Okay.
And these guys all give me a hard time about it. Everything starts in Youngstown. It's the center of the universe. Well, it is for me.
Okay.
So here's the story that relates to Youngstown. So Sonny Vaccaro, the sales guy,
Okay.
Matt Damon in the movie,
Right.
went to Youngstown State University. He's from Stratford, PA. The whole story about Sonny Vaccaro and how he got into that job for Nike was he used to have these Dapper Dan classics in Pittsburgh, and he started them like in 1968.
Dapper Dan.
It's a charity in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And I don't even know the tie-in, but they used to have these countrywide high school events where they'd bring, they call them the McDonald's All-Star Game now.
Right.
But it started out as
Oh,
the
okay,
Dapper Dan.
okay.
So they would bring all these players in. I mean, Kobe's, all the players that you can even think of participated in this thing down at the Civic Arena. And us as high school kids, we went down to these games.
Right.
I mean, you'd see all these phenomenal players. So Sonny Vaccaro is the guy that launched that. And he was, for lack of a better word, he was a street rat. He was
Okay.
a street rat from Youngstown,
Okay.
Just one of them guys,
Yeah.
just a hustler, right?
Gotcha.
So he got in conjunction with this Pat DeCesar, who at the time was promoting concerts all over Pittsburgh, Youngstown, and Cleveland, rock concerts. And they got this idea, they're going to hold this national basketball game. Well, it grew. I mean, literally they would have 20,000 people in the Civic Arena watching a high school
Wow.
basketball game.
Wow.
It was one game. They
That's
had like
impressive.
2 games. Crazy. And it's growing into what is today now that McDonald's All-American game. But that's how Sonny Vaccaro got his hooks into all these athletes. So that's when Phil Knight came to Sonny and said, hey, you've got all these connections. He's one of the guys, good or bad, that started all this AAU stuff, all this crazy stuff with all these shenanigans that go on in recruiting.
Oh.
Sonny was knee deep in the middle of that, right?
Okay.
Again, street hustler. So they hire him to go to Nike, and he takes on this role. So tee up the movie clip.
right.
We're going to play a little clip of the movie, and we're going to walk through what happens.
All right, so let's tee this up, and then we're going to talk about sales lessons. So if you haven't seen the movie, here's the shorts version of it. Sonny Vaccaro is with Nike. wants to sign Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan wants to go first to Adidas, or if you're from across the pond, Adidas, and then Converse is his second choice. He's not even looking at Nike. So he's trying to convince, his agent, Michael Jordan's agent, to say, hey, let me talk to Michael. Let me see if I can convince him. Agent saying, no, you can't talk to him. He's not interested. He's done. He's going to Adidas. Leave me alone. So, like a good salesperson, doesn't take no for an answer, he decides to go to Wilmington, North Carolina, and talk directly to the Jordans, the family. And so what I want to do is show you this clip from the movie, and then we're going to extract from this little scene a couple of great sales tips that I think you guys can use in the field. So, Stormy, roll the clip.
Mr. Vaccaro, now you do understand that Michael's intention is to sign with Adidas with Converse as a second option.
I do. And with respect, I think that's a mistake. I'll make a bet with you. I'll tell you exactly how those meetings are going to go. And if I'm wrong, then don't take a meeting with Nike. But if I'm right, please consider that you and Michael come out. All right. This is Converse, by the way. John O'Neill. He'll have his hair gelled up like an asshole. Excuse me. A bunch of them will be wearing red ties for the Bulls. John will have a Rolex for sure. Now, I've seen a lot of basketball, but the feeling that I get when I see Michael, there's only a few other players who gave me that feeling. Now, when he's done, I'd love it if you would ask him a question. How's Michael going to stand out from these other players? How's he going to be different?
What about Michael's meeting with Adidas? Michael's top choice is Adidas.
Hello, Mrs. Jordan.
No,
Welcome
you
to...
can just tell me.
Okay, sorry. Here's what they'll say. We have the best shoes, plain and simple. All leather, all the kids want to wear them. Converse isn't this cool. And, I mean, this is me talking now and not Adidas. They're not wrong. I get why Michael wants to go there. Here's what you should ask them. Who's running your company? I think 4 different people in that room are going to give you 4 different answers. And that's the problem at Adidas right now. And it's going to be a real headache for you for the next few years.
Now, I love that clip. So, Ed, let's go through it. But I want to go to the slides because there's 3 nuggets that I pulled out from that clip, and let you and I organize it for the folks. So here's the first one. So let's go to the first tip. So the first one is, here's the movie. He says this. He isn't afraid to say you're making a mistake.
Yeah.
Now, you hit me with, how would you organize that for us?
So I think when you think about that, that's a very bold statement that I think a lot of people kind of tiptoe around, right? And I'll use the example of this. Think you have you got a termite appointment that's set for this afternoon.
Right.
You get a call this morning from the customer canceling the appointment. This happens all the time. They call you up and say, hey, Victor, they call the office, they call somebody, they say, don't need you to come. We already signed up with Terminix. So we go into these fancy diatribes, right, about how to work around that, instead of just being completely frank with the customer and just saying, you're making a mistake.
Yeah.
You got to have the confidence in your product.
Just don't deliver it like that.
Yeah.
You're making a mistake.
But think about that. So we'll say, well, you should get another quote. You should do all this stuff that we try to say, instead of saying, as he said, if I can just say this. He asked for permission, then he just says it, right? He said, I think you're making a mistake.
Right.
I think you're making a mistake.
And then that part of the brain alarms, right? Because when we hear that from somebody and they say it with, we'll call it that calm authority.
Yeah.
Right? Doesn't have to scream, just calm authority. Your brain goes, why?
Yeah.
What do you mean I'm making a mistake?
And you got to have something to back that up.
And then you have to kind of give them the reason why they're making a mistake.
Yeah.
I think it's powerful.
Yeah, and if you think about the scenario there, Nike's the miniature player. I mean, Nike's like darn near going under at this time.
Right.
So I mean, he's desperate. So maybe the desperation in the fact that I think you're making he didn't have an appointment. They weren't coming out to Oregon to meet with him, so he had nothing to lose. And I think when you get that call, when the customer says you need to cancel my appointment, I already went to Terminix. You're just like Sonny Vaccaro and sitting in front of Mrs. Jordan. You got nothing to lose.
Right.
Be direct.
Nothing to lose, but you also have to believe in what you're selling.
100%.
I know we say that all the time. It sounds cliche-ish.
Yep.
But if you really believe that I have the best solution, and I got the best solution, then listen up.
Yeah.
You're making a mistake, and that's the mindset. So that was lesson number 1. Lesson number 2 was he drops a poison pill.
Yeah.
Now, a poison pill is a strategy or tactic used to either delay or stop a deal from going through. And so he hits Converse, here's what Converse is going to say. They're all going to be wearing, that whole thing about here's what he got.
Slick back hair,
Yeah, slick back
Rolex.
hair with the red ties for the Bulls. And he's going to say something like, when I see him play, it's like a feeling I get with that. And so he's already projecting in her mind what they're going to tell him. And then he does this. He says, ask him this.
Yeah.
And when he says, how is Michael Jordan going to stand out? Notice what he's doing, Ed. He's actually, and you know this already, he's basically saying, here's what you need to ask him because I won't be there.
Amen.
You ask him.
Amen. And I think that falls into what we can do when we get a chance to kind of set the stage. Let's face it. I mean, it's probably to the point at this time when you're reaching into this bag that they're going to get another bid, and you've tried to work your magic that they're not going to get one.
Right.
You want to prep them, and anybody that's been doing this for more than a week knows what the customer's going to say if you've been there first. They're going to walk in and they're going to say, Mr. Hubbard, we're going to do everything that Orkin's going to do for cheaper price. And that's something, and if you say that to the customer, well, let me tell you how it's going to work. And if you know the guy or the gal that's working in your turf, even better. There's a lot of new folks on the call. If you're not in the habit of having the local representatives for the other companies come visit you and give you an inspection. I was able to do it for probably the first 4 or 5 years of my career. I would have the Terminex guys come by. I would have the Grace Pest Control guys come by. Maybe it wasn't my house, but it was my dad's house or my brother's house. So I could see what they're doing.
Right.
And people say, oh, that's not very ethical. Well, I'm not in this for ethics. I'm here to make money, right?
Yep.
So I want to know what they were saying. So I could say, well, if Brian Worth comes out, here's typically what he's going to say. He's super sharp. He really knows. He's a heck of a salesman. If I had his sales ability and our service capabilities, there's no telling how much money I could make.
Right.
But I think you set them up for what's coming, so that when
Yeah.
the guy says that, what triggers in their mind?
Yeah.
If he says we're going to do everything Orkin's going to do for cheaper,
Yeah.
what goes off in their mind?
Immediately, that's what Ed said.
Yeah.
By the way, I like what you said, but I think you said it wrong. If I make, because you said, I don't care about ethics. I don't think that's what you meant.
that isn't.
Yeah,
what I
that's
meant.
what you meant was, to me, that's research.
Yeah.
I don't care. That's research.
Yeah.
I want to know what the competition is doing.
Amen.
But what's interesting is I'm conditioning the champion to ask questions, because I think this is the important subtlety in this is Matt Damon is not going to be able to join that meeting in Adidas or Converse. So I'm going to train my champion to ask the questions for me. Therefore, by default, I've infiltrated that meeting without being there.
100%.
So that's, I think, when we look at what we sell, Mr. Client Prospect, I want you to ask them this, and they become your proxy.
Yeah, and I think it's, one of our greatest closes ever is deferring payment for 90 days.
Yeah.
Using the rack close to defer payment, where Mr. Customer, you don't have to give us a dime. We're so confident in the work that we do that you don't need to ask us for any money. So I would ask you, as you have these other companies come by, are they willing to step up to the plate and tell you you don't have to pay for 90 days until you're completely satisfied with the service and the results that service renders.
Yeah.
So you tee that up in. So I would have you ask them this.
Right.
Ask them this.
And that's the two-part piece here, right? The first one is, here's what they're going to say. As Adam Humphrey says, he's telling her what the competition is going to do.
100%.
That's credibility, because when they repeat it, that gives you more credibility.
Absolutely.
But then he comes over the top, ask them this. This is the poison pill.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, now I know what to ask. So the second poison pill was this one, which I thought was interesting. Second poison pill was, here's what Adidas is going to say.
Yeah.
Tries to do the German accent, fails in the movie. But this subtle line here I thought was really brilliant, and I want you to talk to it, Ed. He says, they're going to say, we're the best, and you know what? They're not wrong.
Yeah.
And then he pivots off that. Talk about that.
Well, I think that you have to recognize that competitors are going to be, some will be pretty good.
Yeah.
But I think you do have to kind of plant that seed that we're in that position. So it's a little bit different than the Nike scenario,
Yeah.
right? With Damon and Sonny, because they're trying to climb uphill. They're competing against us. We're Adidas, right? So we're Adidas. Mm-hmm. So we got to spin that a little bit different in our game to tease them, to make sure that we're asking questions and we're asking those kind of things that they can say. What they asked there was, how are you going to separate yourself? Who's going to be running the show? And I think that you can do with our tools,
Right.
with the Meet app, you can show them,
Right.
And a lot of what our competitors will say is that, oh, you don't want to do business with Orkin. You want to do business locally. We're all local. But if you've used your Meet app the right way, you've explained the support team you have behind you,
Right.
and say, our competitors they're going to tell you we're not local. But let me tell you, here's all our folks. I just showed you the pictures.
Right.
They work and play in your neighborhoods. They're here. We live here. I live here.
Yeah.
And I'm part of a team that's got a manager for 20 years to back it up. So I think by inserting that kind of language in that, again, trying to poison what they're going to say or what they
Right.
could potentially say.
You got it.
I think you're down
It's
that
so
road.
subtle, right? So subtle. And then he does the same thing again. Then he says, and by the way, when you use that line, they're not wrong. Like there's probably something that, help me out here. There's something that Orkin now is moving into a new market, and there's somebody ahead of you in a specific area.
Yeah, I mean,
what would it be like?
some of the commercial stuff that we're doing, right?
Would
I
say
mean,
like
yeah,
mosquito
moving into the air
control?
scent and the air services.
By the way,
Yeah.
the air scent services, right? You know, you can say you're not wrong.
Yeah.
They are the number one, da da da, and you're not wrong. But then as soon as you do but, you negate that.
Amen.
Here's why you want to come.
Amen.
Right? And then he asked the question. The question he asked, again, very similar, asked him who's running the company.
Yeah.
Now, what he did there was interesting because he now implanted some doubt of how the next 2 years are going to roll out. Because he goes, for the next 2 years, you're going to be dealing with that headache.
Amen.
And immediately you're like, I don't want to deal with headaches.
Yeah.
And I thought that was brilliant.
And hit up in the chat. And you guys, some of you are jumping in already, but anything that you use there to be different. But particularly that one that you guys aren't local, right? You show them that we are local, and the fact, the advantage of dealing with us is we're all local. We're living and working in your neighborhoods. But the step up we have, ask them what they do. What kind of resources do you have to go above and beyond that?
Yeah.
You've got this local. I always use the Verizon, the old Verizon commercials where the guy that's talking about Verizon, all of a sudden there's like 500 people standing behind him.
Right.
I always try to spin that story. The cool thing about this is
Forgot about that visual.
we're all local.
Yeah.
We're all local. Like Termite Tech, he lives in Boardman. My boss lives in, he lives in Poland, right? Everybody's here in the market. So we are local. We're paying taxes local. We're supporting your kids, go to school with your kids. But most important, what we've got that next level support that we can take it to a region, we can take it to a division. You're dealing with the most financially sound company in the industry.
Right, right.
That
So,
kind of thing.
so I would like to hear from you guys. Like, what question? Just give me one question. What one question would you give to your client to ask when the competitor came in for a bid later on? What question would you ask? So, in other words, they're going to say they're going to get another bid. Now you have to implant one question. What's that one question? Right? Put it in the chat.
Put it in the chat.
Because I'd love to hear what you do, because I think that's fascinating to be able to use that strategy.
Amen. Looks like hit him with the stumper. Come on, somebody get in there.
Yep.
Commercially, we know what Ecolab says when we go in. Ecolab compares us, and they always lead with the fact that, oh, you don't want to do business with Orkin. They're a residential company. So, we're dealing with that up front. I know the Ecolab guy's coming in to give you a quote.
Right.
They're going to lead with this, that we're a residential company.
Right.
Well, in all reality, we sell more commercial business than anybody in the world, and that's something that really isn't recognized.
Right.
We certainly do a great job of our advertising, residentially, so that can be thought that way.
If I can add to that, Ed, because I think it's interesting, that statement that, like, if Ecolab come in, they're going to say we're only residential. You can actually put a top spin on that thing by saying, look, they're going to come in and say we're only residential. It's a very disparaging remark. They say it all the time.
Yep.
And it's simply not true.
How about that?
And then, that makes them look even worse, because when they do say it, that's exactly what the client's going to think. They're very disparaging.
Victor said they were going to do that, and darn, they did it.
And they done, and that builds that credibility.
We were down pitching Pepsi on Monday. That's what I was down in Dallas for, and you can be darn tootin' that we led with Ecolab's going to come in and say this. We got it out there. Right?
Yeah, I love it, man.
Just,
I love
just
it.
trying to
All right,
poison that pill.
We're getting some good ones here, so you take it, Ed.
Yeah. So what are their limits of liability? You got Derek jumping in there. What are they hoping to find when they get a second bid? I got that. Who's going to come back next year? Pay attention to the detail of the inspection. Yeah, what are they showing? What are you seeing, right? Again, some of that stuff that we visualize. Are they putting everything in writing?
Yeah.
I
like
ask
Derek.
them this. Put it in writing.
Derek's got a good one. What are the limits of their liability?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one, man. Oh,
Amen.
that's because that's the one you can kind of play with and expand a little bit.
Yep.
Because here's what we're going to cover.
Yeah.
I want you to make sure you ask them what they're going to cover.
Absolutely.
Whatever that wording might be.
Absolutely.
That right there that's a good one right there.
Explain all the services. Sonia in there,
Yep.
jumping in.
iPad, whoever that is, says
Money back guarantee.
that's what you're going to say.
Who's
right?
going to come back?
I
We're
love
going
that.
to own it.
Great answers.
Taking personal ownership, that kind of stuff. Again, if you've got that tenure in your branch and in your organization, man, use that Meet app, because there's not a whole lot of folks that can do what we present that way.
Okay, this one you're going to have to help me and educate me here. What is MBG?
Money back guarantee.
Oh.
Money back guarantee.
Really? You put an acronym for that?
We got
Really?
We're working, man. We
Man,
got
that's
acronyms.
That's an unnecessary acronym.
We got
Money
acronyms
back
for
guarantee.
everything, Victor. The
All right.
acronyms I don't even know.
By the way, how about this one from Ivan Velasquez? Did they show you pictures of what they found or just told you about it?
Yeah.
Again, nice way of spinning that.
Stuff you can separate.
Yeah.
And ask them. Make sure that you see it. Make sure you get something in writing. Make sure you
Yeah.
get something in writing.
Okay. And by the way, Edward Chavira, if I got that right, says, who's going to come back the next 5 years? I think he's aiming at the credibility of how long they've been around.
Yep.
Because some of these companies are small, fly-by-night, so I like that one.
I think that Rory Alligato has a great way of handling that. He tells them that when they sign up with Orkin, that you get me for 5 years. I'm the guy that's going to
Gotcha.
come back and do your inspection.
Is that what he said? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, just building on that validity.
Okay, I think Dustin went too far. I think Dustin went too far. I don't even want to. You go ahead and read that one.
We are the NFL.
We are the NFL of pest control. Nobody watches the CFL. Really, Dustin? You're going to go with that one?
We are the Nordstroms of pest control.
You're
These guys must make a lot of money. I don't shop at Nordstrom.
Ernesto Aguilar. Dude, if it's working for you, ignore my opinion, okay? If it's working for you, ignore my opinion. All right.
So I think you kind of get the idea,
Yeah.
right? That you watch that clip a few times. We'll post this. This whole video will get posted up there, but certainly watch the movie.
By the way, it's on YouTube, by the way, if you want to just put
Yeah.
Victor Antonio movie air.
Yeah,
You'll get
that's
it.
where I saw it. That's what kind of we started the conversation. He has 7 kind of points that he pulls out of that.
7 points.
On Victor's slide. We only talked about 3 of them, but think about that when people are getting bids and they're getting bids, and you find that out in your discovery. You find out who's coming,
Right.
and just think if you knew the guy. I mean, the Terminex guy that I sold against in Youngstown when I was selling for a living, his name was Dave Bernstein, and I was just simply asking him, was Dave the guy that came out, or is Dave the guy that's coming out?
Yeah.
That Dave, man, that dude, he's a crazy crackerjack salesman. He's a really good guy. He's a great salesman. So what did I just do to him?
I think you
I
elevated.
just made him a salesman.
Yeah.
Because I'm just Joe Bag of Donuts.
Yeah, Joe-
If I had Dave's sales ability and our services and our technicians, there's no telling how much money I can make, Mr. Antonio.
Love it, man.
And you just think about the way you approach this. This is taking it past just spinning.
That's it.
Thinking
got it.
through it, thinking through the process. How do you position yourself? So
got it
if
right.
all else fails, right? That's enough on that one, right?
Yep.
Let's go to that last slide.
The last slide. All right.
So this is the one piece that as long as I've been doing this and trying to help salespeople get a little bit better, certainly residentially, that I found that I get the most positive feedback on, and people literally telling me that worked. Thanks for giving me that worked. And it's just simply this. You've got that situation to where you've worked your tail off. You've done everything perfect. You killed it, right? You did everything that textbook, the way we told you, pictures, the iPad, you're using the Meet app, you're sharing everything. You just blew them away. But you're dealing with somebody that's going to get a bid, no matter how good you were.
Yep.
So you nudge. And every good salesman, you got to nudge them enough to where if you don't nudge, we know that if we leave without a commitment, even if we're Brian Worth and we walk out of there without a commitment that night, our closure is going to go down. I don't care how good you are. If you leave without some sort of solid commitment, your closure's going down. So you're stuck there. So you nudge a few times, you try to ask for the sale 2-3 times, whatever it is. The moment it gets uncomfortable for you,
What are you going to do, Ed?
the moment it gets uncomfortable for you, you know it's way past uncomfortable for
Yep.
them. So here's what you do. The tension's up in the room. You've asked for the business 2 or 3 times. They're done. They're Victor, I loved everything you said. Everything was beautiful. You did it great. You knocked it out of the park. We really like what you had to say. It makes a lot of sense. But we're getting another bid.
Right.
We're getting 2 more bids. We got 2 more people coming. Go back to that slide, and here's what I tell them. So the tension's up. The room's crazy. You're feeling uncomfortable, a little uncomfortable yourself. You got to get the tension down. You got to relieve the tension, right? I can certainly understand and appreciate and respect that. Sharon and I, Victor, do things much the same way. So you relieve the tension. They think you're done asking for the business. You tell them, dude, that's how we do it here.
Yep.
That's how we handle things in my house.
Right.
Right? So you do that.
I am you.
Yeah.
Yep.
You just put a little pause in there, put the slide back up so they can see it. I mean, I got this down in memory. My whole life in sales is about asking people for favors or just being curious and asking them that. So I've used this line a bazillion times. I'd like to ask you a favor. Would you do me a favor, Victor? Could you do me a favor?
Sure.
And you say it that way, he says yes. So again, another pause. Then the next slide, Victor, show it to them so they can read with them. If you can find another company, we'll undo all the detailed work. More importantly, put it in writing. Provide professional security screen technicians. Delay your payments, Victor, all the way up to 90 days.
What?
Until you're completely satisfied with the work and the results that work has rendered. Back it up with the most financially sound company in the business. Another pause. I want you to do 2 things. I've said this hundreds of times. I want you to do 2 things. You got to do it with passion. I want you to buy it, and I want you to call me. This is how I make a living for my family. This is what I've chosen to do. I think I'm working at the right place. If I'm not, I'm pretty good at what I do. I sell more of this business than anybody in Ohio. And frankly, Victor, I'll go work for them. Then you lay another pause in there and you let that settle in. But you can't do that. You can't say that if you haven't demonstrated all that. They haven't visually seen it. But if you can say this at the end with passion, you lay that pause in there at the end, let that settle for a moment. And you say, Victor, what you're really talking about is Orkin. One more try. Always one more try.
One more try.
Why don't we just go ahead and get this scheduled? And they'll say, oh, no, that's it, Ed. But I think that when you get people that are telling you they're getting shops, because I'm seeing a lot of the group meets, they're getting 2 more bids, they're getting another bid, they're getting another bid. And I wonder if folks are executing on this. When we ask folks to put stuff in the chat, in the last broadcast, Christian Brindle, I think, is like 3rd or 4th on the list. He's been to President's Club or Chairman's Club like 12 years. Every year he's been here. He literally typed
He did.
that word for word.
He scripted,
Before we put the slide up, because what he's done with it, he's practiced it.
He's committed to memory.
And it's his.
Yep.
So when somebody says they're getting another bid, he does all his shenanigans to try to get the business closed that night. But at the end of the day, when he knows he's got to pack his stuff up and leave, he lays that on him.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
What I like about the script is that you have to make it your own. Like every time I read a script like yours, for those of you who are thinking about it, because I know you're thinking about it, it's like, I don't know if I would say it that way. Doesn't matter. Find your way of saying it, but the essence of what you have to say is in that script. One more shot before I leave.
Yeah, and I think part of it, that the kind of the body of it, where you're talking about the things, the different things that we're going to do, you tailor those in your script to what they moved up in their chair on.
Yep.
Maybe it was the foam that they looked a little closer at when you're going through it. So you hand pick those for each individual customer.
Great point.
If they love this or they love that or they were concerned about the technicians, maybe emphasize that more. You've showed them who's coming.
The lean-ins. We'll call those the lean-ins. You know what the lean-ins are, and those are the ones you hit. I really like it, and you've said it many times. The guarantee about don't pay me anything until da-da-da-da-da, you're satisfied, then you pay me.
Crazy.
That's something you got to hit. And like I said, I think tying it back to the poison pill so we can wrap this up is that you're basically saying, again, I want to train my champion. They're not going to sign, Ed.
Yep.
Then, all right, here's what I want you to ask them.
Ask them this. I think this is probably the most important question you can ask them. Ask them when you have to pay. Can you wait till I come back out and check it?
Because it could be that simple and clean, right?
Yeah. Because if you think about it, how many folks can 90 days same as cash close? Not too many companies. Not too many companies.
Yeah.
Probably in your market there might be one other. One other. But we still have market shares around the country that are below 50, and I'll scratch my head forever and a day.
Even if you had one other in a territory, I would still use the line. I said, look,
absolutely.
The majority of companies will not allow you to do this.
100%.
And just being said, you're not lying.
Yep.
Majority of companies will not allow you to do that, won't do this for you.
Amen.
We will.
Yep. We are so confident in the work that our folks do that we don't need your money up front till I come back and make sure it's right.
You got it.
You and I sit together. Just a couple of housekeeping things. I know we're way over time here. The first housekeeping thing is a personal one that I want you to take this message and really grind this in. When we went down to Dallas on Monday, Leland Morris, the division president, and I, we visited the Dallas Fort Worth commercial branch, termite branch that has it's a termite kind of dedicated branch that have 15 salespeople in there. Well, we walked in there and we pulled into the parking lot, 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and there were a whole bunch of termite trucks in the parking lot. And so we walked in, and Solid Punches has been the manager down there for years. He does a phenomenal job. Leland says, and what are all the termite trucks doing here? How come you aren't go out there doing work? He said, well, they had a whole bunch of insulation jobs going that day, attic insulation remediations. He said, so the guys, they have three trucks, 3 box trucks for insulation. They're all out there. They're all out there doing that. So they're all teaming up and they're riding in the trucks together. That's why the trucks are in the parking lot, Leland. Don't panic, right? Then we proceeded to talk about it. I said, well, what the heck time do they leave here? He said, they typically try to load up between 4:30 and 5 o'clock in the morning and get on site.
That's amazing.
And they talked, because, at that time, I think 7:30 in the morning when we were there, it was already like north of 75 degrees in Dallas, right? It was hot Monday. By the time we got done talking to Pepsi in the afternoon at 2:30 in the afternoon, it was up into the 80s.
Yeah.
So you think about guys getting up into the attic and doing this kind of work, and we talked to Solid about that and how he does it. And he rotates his guys 20 minutes in the attic, 20 minutes loading the hopper. You keep taking the guys out to keep them fresh. He talked about the vests the cooling vests. He said they're too heavy. These guys won't wear them. Even when we give them, we provide them, they won't wear them. So they rotate guys out. It got me thinking that when we get into attics as salespeople, we're in there for, I'll give you guys the benefit of the doubt. You're in there for 30 minutes, right? Maybe 20 minutes, but you're not in there all day, every day, 6 days a week.
And I got to assume
doing
that if
this
it's
kind of work.
85, the temperature in the attic's got to be, I don't know, 90, 95?
Yeah,
Yeah.
easy. So they try to get those jobs done before noon, so they're out of there. But what it reminded me of is y'all are making a ton of money, right? You're making a ton of money. Our residential salespeople are making more money than they ever have. Spread that around a little bit. What if you showed up at those insulation jobs with a case of Gatorade under your arm, or better yet, one of them styrofoam coolers you picked up, or you bought a case of water at Walmart? I think now is the time that you have to be really cognizant of how to give the appreciation to your technicians, because by God, I'm just thinking about those dudes. Even right now, I'm thinking about them up in that attic, just grinding it out. I mean, exhausting themselves for us.
Yeah.
Love up on them technicians.
Love your tech.
Love
Show
your
them a little
tech.
love. By the way, there's a comment here by John Hand that we missed. It says, ask them if they'll come back after fumigation to do preventive treatment.
There you go.
I love that one, man. So I'm
There
not
you go.
ignoring you, man. That's
Yep.
a great statement. That's all I got.
Amen. Just one, I guess one other thing. When you're thinking about your technicians, don't forget about your service managers and your CSSs. You guys are grinding out the business. They're swamped. Take care of them. And tying into our last broadcast, are you spiking jobs? We got a $15 million termite backlog as of this morning. Those jobs get a little iffy as they get pushed out into the calendar. And I think in most places around the country, we're backed up at least a week, 2 weeks to get the jobs done. Are you spiking them to solidify them so they don't go looking for something else? And they have that understanding and that calming effect that, that Victor, when he was here, he started getting rid of those termites.
Yep.
Or he started doing this stuff. So that's it. We went a little bit over, but hopefully it was a good broadcast, and at least we're happy with it, I think.
We're
right?
good. I think we're good.
Yeah, let's get out of here. Thank
All
you
right.
all. Keep it up. Appreciate you.
Have a great day.